guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a foundation review of the Maybelline Superstay Active Wear, which is a 30-hour foundation. I am baffled as to why you would want to wear a foundation for 30 hours. However, the idea is supposed to be humidity proof, sweat proof, active wear proof. So if you're wearing it to the gym, if you are going out in humidity, if you live somewhere hot, the idea is that this is going to withstand heat, sweat, the usual. I wanted to test this because it is an affordable foundation. I want to see if it lives up to the claims. So this is the foundation. Really nice little bottle and has a pump activated top. So for my complexion, all I've done is wash my face, put my skincare on, my SPF, and I'm going to go straight in with the foundation. The shade I'm going to use is 21 Nude Beige. So let's put a little pump of this on. So I received 3 shades. This seems to be the darkest one, which I think is going to match. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to apply this side with my fingers. So there's 20 shades available from what I can see online. I'm not sure it goes too deep. Without seeing them in the flesh, I'm not going to be able to really comment on how deep it goes. The fairest shade does look pretty light. I'm just not sure how dark they go. So this is a comfortable natural matte finish, and instantly you can see it is full coverage. And full coverage foundations from high street brands have come such a long way. Usually when you put it on, they tend to feel a bit chalky and a bit just not very nice, but this is lovely. It feels like it glides on quite nice. It's instantly sort of set in. I can feel that it's getting slightly thicker and a little bit more tacky to touch, which means it's instantly starting to dry down. It also says online that it is for all skin types, so that's good. And it also contains high pigment, so the idea is it will camouflage any of your imperfections. And it really is high pigment, you can see that instantly. So you can see straight away it's taking down any redness. It is covering freckles. I do have a little blemish just there, and I can still see that, so I would need to go in with additional coverage. I am finding the more I'm working it in with my fingers, it's still full coverage, but it does kind of glide over the skin and take a tiny layer off around the pore area, but it has instantly covered them. So if you didn't fuss around that area, get it on and then don't keep tapping over it, I think it would stay. But because I'm tapping over it before it's settled in, you can then see my pores again. See, on this part of my face it looks nice, but I think this would be like too full coverage for me. So if you're looking for something that's affordable but gives you coverage, this is it. Obviously we don't know the staying power just yet, but it really does give you full coverage. I'm going to use my brush on the other side. As I say, when it goes on, first off it's lovely because it's not chalky or heavy or too mattifying, but it does, as you can see, dry down to a matte finish. It says a natural matte finish, but I would say it's definitely more matte than natural. It's one of those full coverage foundations that enhances the kind of little peach fuzz vellus hairs that you get on the face. So it does go on equally as nice with a brush, but I feel like you need to pat it in with your fingers after, because you can see it sitting on the hairs. Whereas if you go in with your fingers and give it a little pat, it tends to flatten everything and takes off the excess product that sits on the hairs and just gives you a better finish. So instantly that looks better. Take it a little bit over the eyes. You can see instantly how it takes down the redness, so that's impressive. It is so much better in terms of the formula than they used to be, especially for full coverage. However, I think if you've ever tried a full coverage high-end foundation, then you will know what I mean when you feel the difference. It's really nice, but it isn't as silky. It's not chalky, but it's not as silky. However, it is a nice foundation for the fact that it is affordable. So this is a 30ml foundation and it's only £10.99. So that is one layer, one side using my hand, the other side using a brush but patting in with my hand. You can see it is full coverage. A couple of cons for me is that I noticed there was a little patch on my nose that needed a bit more blending. So as I started to just tap over it with my finger, it comes straight off, and that has been sitting there for a couple of minutes and it hasn't dried down completely enough to not move. My melasma on the top of my forehead is one area that always looks a little bit textured. It gives me the indication that if you have dry skin, you are not going to like this foundation. Not only because it has that natural matte finish, but it doesn't sit well when it dries down. over any areas of skin with texture or patchiness. It just enhances it. If I zoom in. So over here on my melasma, you can see it's just made my skin look awful. It makes it look dry and dehydrated, and it doesn't normally do that, but that's something that I would expect to get from an affordable foundation. You can see on my cheeks it's covered, but again, it just doesn't really do my skin texture any justice. You can see here it looks kind of like it's gone over the pores, but I've got a tiny little bump come up and it's just not sitting over it nicely at all. No, you can just see the makeup sitting on the skin. Like, you've seen me zoomed in like this before with other foundations and my skin looks so much nicer. I don't love the texture of it. It's better, so much better than foundations used to be for affordable ones when it comes to full coverage, but I don't love the finish of it. It's everything that I try to avoid when I've got a full coverage foundation. When I'm choosing one, I want one that has the high pigment but isn't thick. So I have full coverage foundations that are very fluid and I can layer them to get the desired effect, but it doesn't feel heavy on the skin. And although this says it's weightless and it doesn't feel heavy on the skin, it is heavy. Even just slightly frowning is making me look about 60 years older than I actually am. I'm going to do the rest of my makeup, then I'm going to come back and show you throughout the day how it looks. Kind of don't have high hopes for it based on how it looks now. I can't imagine it's going to look any better in a couple of hours. So I've done the rest of my makeup. I'm going to go about my day and I will come back in a couple of hours and check in with you to show you how I'm getting on. I did find when I was putting a little bit of bronzer down the sides of my nose and on my cheeks, the sides of my nose just started to come away. I'm not setting it in place with a powder because I know that won't make a difference on my skin. I want to test the foundation without any other products to see how it wears on its own, and that will give us an idea of its performance and how it wears on its own. So far I'm not too impressed in terms of I can touch it with my finger because I get itchy face when I wear foundation. I'm always itching it, so I do my best to tap, but as soon as I tap you can see it's coming off. I don't know if you can see just there where I tapped, but it's coming off already. And that's just tapping it. So it's not very impressive, is it? I would only normally set underneath my eyes if I was wearing a concealer or just the centre of my face because I'm oily. But that wouldn't make a difference, even with a little bit of powder. I know, you know, through having used tons of foundations and how my skin wears and how a powder affects foundation, that wouldn't make a change. That really wouldn't. I'm hoping it will last relatively okay in a few hours because of how full coverage it is. I expect my T-zone to kind of fail because I am oily, but I guess we're gonna see. So I've had this foundation on for 5 hours. Through the T section, it's an oily mess. Everywhere else, it's actually stayed pretty well. Again, I'm not really sure who the foundation would be good for because I feel like it would be too dry for dry skin. It would just cling to any areas that need exfoliating, and I feel like you would find it too dry in. It's come away from the blemish because I didn't put any concealer on that. I just left it as the foundation. But this section of my face actually looks quite okay. It hasn't sort of enhanced any of the fine lines around here, but it does look horrible. If you can see, my nose just looks really oily. It's all starting to break up. It just looks an absolute mess. You can see right here on the tip of my nose, it is completely broken up. Normally I would leave this on for longer, but the fact that it's just a foul in general, I've got no reason to keep it on. I mean, I really don't know who the foundation would be geared at because it's obviously not suitable for oily skin, and because it is so full coverage and it's kind of a natural matte, I don't even think it would be suitable for dry skin. So maybe just combination skin with a very good oil control through the centre of the T-zone. It's great coverage, and for an affordable foundation, if you're happy to get 4 or 5 hours wear out of it if you're not oily, it's just still not very good. So for me, it is a fail, I'm afraid. But let me know what you think because I am intrigued to see what you think. Again, this is only 5 hours. I would normally go longer, but there's just no point because it is just going to look so much worse. It looks horrible now, so it's only going to look worse in a little while. If there's anything that you want to ask that I've not answered, leave it in the comment section below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Don't forget to come follow me outside of YouTube on my social handles. I share all the new products over on Instagram stories. There I will normally ask if you want to see in a tutorial over here. So if you are interested in seeing more, head over to Instagram at Show Me Makeup, and I will see you next week. Bye.